Let's talk about it. 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 On the video.
Hello, hello, hello. Let me start with this video regarding my guest. Hello, hello. I am so honored to have with me Miss J.B. Jones. And before we get started, I just want to share a little bit about her. How are you doing today?
I am so well, and thank you so much for having me on the show.
Well, I'm just honored to have you, and I'm just going to take a few minutes and read a little bit about you, and then you're going to share with the audience more about you and what you're doing and all of that kind of stuff. Okay?
Thank you.
And there are some people trying to come on. If you go to the link on JB's page, you will see that that's where you're supposed to be. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Let me share with the audience. Biography of Jamima Beatrice Jones, author and playwright. She was born in Los Angeles and raised on the tumultuous streets of Compton, California in the mid-60s. She is an author, playwright, and she is no stranger to the literary dream. After high school, she attended San Jose State University from 1973 to 1977, where she studied business administration. The author playwright wrote her first manuscript, Bones, around the time of the movie Rocky, at the time that Rocky debuted. Now, after several rejection letters, she returned her focus to her studies, but never gave up on her dream of becoming a published author. Jones' most creative fictional piece was a short story poem entitled The King of Her Castle. Around 2004, Jones became aware of a Los Angeles-based group of singers calling themselves the Jubilee Singers, and we're going to talk more about that. And she's going to tell us the history of the Jubilee Singers, rather than me read it. Jones has been a licensed realtor in the state of California since 2005. She has owned and operated a successful tax consulting firm since 1982. And during the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles and the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta, she successfully vended souvenir pins to thousands. She has proudly served as chief merchandiser to the late legendary Ray Charles during the last 4 years of his career. On June 1st, 2021, Jones arrived in Nashville to launch her Relive the Legacy tour, which included visits to the Hermitage, Jubilee Hall, Fountain Square, Nashville's Union Station, the Jubilee Bridge, the Tennessee State Capitol, and the Admiral Fell Inn in Baltimore. On June 19th of 2021, the stars aligned and brought Jones and artistic director Rossi Turner of Nashville together. As a result of this predestined meeting, the story of Jubilee is scheduled to return to the stage in the spring of 2022. All aboard, all aboard.
All
Awesome,
aboard.
awesome. Well, listen, I am so happy to have you here. And what I'm going to do is give you some time to just kind of share your story. I'd like to know, how did you determine your passion? And just share the story of that. Hello, Felicia. Before I have you do that, good evening, everyone. Hello, Felicia. So glad you're here. I'm excited about my guest, and I'm going to bring her on the stage so she can share about who she is and what she does.
Okay. I'm, as my hostess has told you, I'm Jamima B. Jones, and I have penned the story of Jubilee. Now, I had a son who was a member of a Los Angeles-based group of Jubilee singers, and it took an audition for him to become a member of that group. And as a young teenager, he came home and said, "Mom, I auditioned for and got into a group of Jubilee singers." I said, "Well, that's wonderful, son, but who are the Jubilee singers?" He said, "Oh, I don't know. We dress up, we sing, and they pay me." And I thought, well, that's a short version. And it was years later that I applied for a position to work with those same Jubilee singers as a personnel coordinator. And in preparing for the job, I started to research, who are the Jubilee singers? And the more I dug, the more compelled I became to put pen to paper and spread the good news, not only about the children's music, which we all know as Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, Get on Board, Every Time I Feel the Spirit. We know the music, but we don't know the children. And so I delved into their backstories, and I learned that Ella Shepard, who was born on a plantation and was born into slavery, was almost drowned at the hands of her own mother. And some believe that this was the first time anyone ever heard the song Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. And it's the first song ever recorded by African Americans. Now, when Ella Shepard showed up at Fisk, which was the Fisk Freed Colored School when it first opened, she became Professor White's assistant, which made her the first African American teacher on Fisk campus. And she is reputed to have taught the Jubilee singers the song Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. And it was first recorded by four of the gentlemen of the original Fisk Jubilee singers, which leads me to believe that that legacy must be a true legacy. And then my research took me to a Thomas Rutledge, who was born right here in Wilson County, Tennessee. And Thomas's family was sold to a new master when Thomas was 3 years old. And the master would not let his mother keep him because he could not work in the fields. But the mother pleaded so earnestly for her child's life that the master's daughter said, "Father, I'll take care of the child," so that he could stay with his mother. And when the daughter's plantation was raided after the Civil War, Thomas and two of his siblings came to Nashville, found another sibling. His sister taught him how to read, and at the age of 11, Thomas Rutledge was already a surgeon's assistant. The surgeon was friends with the Honorable General Clinton B. Fisk and gave Thomas a letter of recommendation to attend the Fisk Freed Color School. And I believe he was, if not the first, one of the very first students to enroll into the university.
So,
now, Maggie Porter, I'm sorry, did you want to interject
so
something?
that was the precursor to Fisk University?
Yes. Fisk University was formed by the Freedmen's Bureau and the American Missionary Association, which joined forces right after the Civil War ended. And their biggest accomplishment was establishing what we now call our historical Black colleges. They put over $500,000 into establishing those colleges, and the Honorable General Clinton B. Fisk donated $30,000 to start and to found Fisk University. So we do have to take our hats off to not only our celebrated abolitionists like Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, but there's a lot of white abolitionists who helped us along the way. And because these students, before I go on, Frederick Loudon was another student who was born free. Now, he never enrolled into this, and he was older than these other students, but their professor, George White, did invite him to become part of the original Fisk Jubilee Singers. So now they have the group formed, and the professor was teaching them Stephen Foster's music, Swan, way back up on the Swanee River, and Old Susanna, and the students weren't really taking too kindly to the music, but the professor would hear them when classes were over in secret, singing spirituals and slave music, and their harmony was like listening to angels. So he eventually convinced Ella Shepard to pen and score some of the songs that he would hear them sing, and she did it very reluctantly because she thought it was blasphemous for them to add those songs to their repertoire to entertain others. But she did as her professor asked, and they were in Ohio, I believe in Columbus, before they got a standing ovation and had run out of material. And the professor said, well, why don't we do one of those spirituals? And they sang Swing Low Sweet Chariot, and it brought the house down. And from then on, everyone wanted the Fisk Jubilee Singers to come. And that was the first time that white people had ever been entertained by Black music.
Oh,
so they are akin to Black music, like Bob Marley is and was to reggae.
That is so awesome.
They put African American music on the map. They are the soul and the heart of our music. Everything that came after them came after them.
That is awesome. I want to acknowledge a couple people that are on. Hello, Futina. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And I wanted to ask, I didn't mean to cut you off, but there will be people coming on that I want to acknowledge. I also want to ask you your passion and all the research that you've done. Can you share a little bit about how you came to this passion and how you became so interested in becoming a playwright? Can you share that part of your story?
Well, I had to ask myself that. Once I penned the story of Jubilee, its origin was as a stage production. And the story just became part of me. And I had to ask God and the universe, why me? Why did you pick me for the vessel of this vision? So I really don't understand why I was picked, but I can assure you that I have been chosen to be the one to preserve the legacy of not only the music. One of these students, Jenny Jackson, was born on the Hermitage, which is President Andrew Jackson's plantation, and was a direct descendant of his. Now, you mentioned in the introduction that was one of my locations I visited when I came here. They don't mention Jenny Jackson. And there's plenty of history in there. I got a chance to see the actual slave barracks, which have been very well preserved. And I tell my husband sometimes I feel like I was there. And I was telling their story, even though it's historical fiction based on actual events. When I put the words to the event, I feel like I was there. So maybe I have one of their spirits. I do believe the spirits go on and inhabit other flesh. So maybe I have one of their spirits, but it's the passion I have for the story even astounds me. And it's just Sometimes I would tell my husband, "Well, I'll see you. I'm going back to 1872," or depending on where I was in the writing. Okay, if you're looking for me, I'll be in 1874.
Yes. And I want to talk about some of the other things that you have done. And I'm going to share that video again, introducing what you're going to be doing. I'm excited. I want to come to Tennessee and see this when it
Yes,
premieres.
we got to get it on stage. We have to get it on stage. That's why I'm so appreciative of you letting me have this platform, because it's support that I need to get us on stage and to preserve. My job, my assignment is to preserve their legacy perpetually through the arts.
That's awesome. And you've been very involved with artists and musicians throughout your career. And I know that you were involved with Ray Charles. You want to tell us a little bit about that, and
Yes.
tell us a little bit about him and what impact, if any, he had on your life.
Okay. When I come from the aerospace industry in California, which you know was a big industry, and once we got equal opportunity became a thing. Most of us worked in the aerospace industry, and that's where I met one of Ray's children, one of his daughters.
Okay.
And I had already been involved with the Olympics. I did bending on the gorgeous lapel pins, which was a very wonderful experience. And it gave me the experience I needed, so that by the time I met her and she found out that I had experience in merchandising, she asked me to go on the road, her dad, and be in charge of his merchandising.
Oh
So that's how I
my.
got connected. Yes, and when we put the performance on stage, uh, her Renee, which is one of his daughters, and her husband, and one of her daughters were cast members. Her sister wrote the verse to our theme song, "Yes, He's Got Power," and her sister's husband, was in the play. One of the Raylettes served as our music director, and so we have a Ray Charles connection. But what I learned traveling with Ray was how to move a group of people for a tour. And I wondered then, why do I need to know this? You know how the kids we say in school, what am I going to need to know trigonometry for? I was
Right.
thinking, why am I going to need to know this? And now I understand.
Now you
Because
understand.
yes, once I lead an ensemble of actors, performers here in Nashville to carry this production on, hopefully at the African American Museum of Music, which just opened this year, I believe that should be our home. Then my love is out on the road, and I want to form a cast to take on the road to tour perpetually.
It's going
I
to
did some
happen.
research, and you know, my GoFundMe page, I'm asking for donations to save our performing arts, meaning African Americans performing arts. And then when you think about it, do we really have a performing arts project that just belongs to us? Some think it's Porgy and Bess. So did I, until I went to see Porgy and Bess and did some research on it. Porgy and Bess is not an African American written, directed, produced production. Porgy and Bess it's a wonderful story. It's a beautiful opera about the town whore and the town drug addict. That's not what we want and need to represent us in the
No,
art.
it's not. No, it's not.
And when I think about the color purple, yes, an African American woman wrote the book, The Color Purple, but that's not who promotes it in the arts. And so it's time. We have enough A-list people, producers and directors and executive producers of African American descent to put this on stage.
Absolutely.
And it's time.
Absolutely.
This is our shot. And so I'm hoping that the word goes out and gets out into the universe. You know, people, some of the first things people say to you when they find out you're trying to get something monumental like this done. Well, have you contacted Oprah? Have you contacted Tyler? You don't just contact Oprah or contact Tyler. You have to be in that circle, but you can put out in the universe that you
Yes.
need some help from Oprah and or need some help from Tyler or need some help from the Obamas. And then you have to let your wishes be known. So
Absolutely.
I do plan on trying to
Absolutely.
get that word out, and this is another avenue. And that's why I so appreciate the time, Vera, that you that the Lord blessed you first of all to be able to figure out this technology. They're trying to leave us seniors. I could count myself as a senior behind on this technology, but we are
I'm with
figuring it
you.
out. They're keeping up.
Well, let me ask you regarding the African Museum that it is in Tennessee.
Yes, it is. It just opened in, I believe, in January or February. It's a beautiful edifice, state of the art theater, 200-seat theater. The Broadway entrance is called the This Jubilee Singers Broadway entrance. The first exhibit when you get in there is of the Fifth
Well,
Jubilee Singers, the
have
original.
you
Yes,
talked to them? Have you talked to them yet?
I have emails out to them. They were invited to listen in on the broadcast on the podcast with the wrong link, but yes, I am in communication with people on the campus, people at the museum. I just need to get them to have the same vision and the same passion for the
They
project that
will.
I have.
They will. They will. Now, there is a Miss Edna Young. She is backstage. I can bring her up if you want. Would you want me to do that so that she can share in this story?
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Okay. Hello, Miss Young. You want to unmute yourself?
That is Eden
E-
Young. Eden
Hi.
Young. Oh my
Hi,
God, my
JB.
sweet
Look at
niece.
your hair. You're so
A
beautiful.
girl, gotta get
Well,
Eden. I
Edna.
met
Hi.
Eden in Los Angeles at
Okay.
the Taste of LA.
Okay. Well,
And I told Eden about the project, and she said I would kill to be in this production. And Eden played two roles and had her costumes custom made and was such a wonderful help.
well,
So good to see you.
Eden. Actually, this is the actual show. The video that you would be watching is actually on Facebook. The link that you have is to be on the platform with
And
us
that's my
today.
fault. That's my
Wow,
fault,
this is
Eden.
amazing. What a treat. This is such a treat.
Well, you want to tell us a little bit about you and your connection with JB?
Well, yes, like JB said, I met her. You know how things are mystic, like she said, and we got connected. And JB has not only the art of people, but the art of vision. And how could you say no, right? And she had this really wonderful and beautiful display, and she had this song, He's Got Power, playing. I said, I'll be anything. I'll be a tree. I'll be whatever you need, because it was so beautiful. And it was so wonderful working with JB. We had such a good time, and I learned a lot. And I was really honored to get to play two roles. I got to play the young girl, and then I also got to play the 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 mistress, right? The madame.
The wife
And
of
that
yes,
was
the wife
really,
of the man.
yeah, it was great, and I cherish that the experience for sure. I mean, to be
Well,
part
that's
of something like this. And I think it's timely. It was timely then, and JB's ahead of her time, for sure. And thank
well, we're
heavens, right?
we're thank heavens, and we're looking forward to helping to promote. Felicia says, yes, you definitely can put it out in the universe, and what you are doing is so amazing. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Felicia,
Felicia.
for that. For that,
Thank
and
you.
yes, and Eden, I wasn't expecting you to be on here, but once you were there, it's like, okay, let's just go with the flow. And And I want to bring you back, JB, and just kind of share more. You are a wealth of information, a wealth of history.
Well, we are fighting to get African American history taught in the schools, and I'm all for that. But it's just a matter of using what avenue, what venue. I'm for teaching African American history from a let's talk about it after slavery. Okay, we have pretty much all taught our children. We all know that we once were slaves. Let's pick up and see what we did after we were free. And the story of Jubilee begins where slavery ends. And that's the message I want to make sure I portray out there. I had someone, even a family member who's a filmmaker, because I love to use this picture. I mean, there's lots of pictures of the Jubilee Singers, but this is my favorite. And I wanted to get her involved in the project. And she looked at the picture and she said, "Oh, another slave story." And that was it. And I didn't even get a chance to say, well, no, it's not a slave story, but that's where our story begins. And so we can't tell the African American experience without including the fact that we once were slaves.
Right.
We all know that, but do we know that?
Almost every single thing that was invented by African Americans after slavery.
Exactly. But then where we fall short is that we let others tell our story and profit off of our story. Why aren't we profiting off of our own legacy? Why aren't we telling our own legacy from within where we feel the passion for it? So there's a lot of points, especially yesterday I did a radio broadcast here, WVOL in Nashville. And I was a little shocked to hear some of the ladies, some were younger, some were older than myself, who said, "I didn't know that. I didn't know that." Like, do we know that Swing Low Sweet Chariot was the first song ever recorded by African Americans? Do we know that the original Fisk Jubilee Singers were the first African Americans to sing at the White House at Ulysses S. Grant's inauguration? Apparently, some of us don't, because in Los Angeles, during all of the uprise in 2020, they tore down the Ulysses S. Grant statue. Ulysses S. Grant is who beat the heck out of Robert E. Lee that ended the Civil War.
Yeah.
So, and to let you know how some of the other historians, when they write about him, you would think all he was an alcoholic. He was an abolitionist, but yet he married a woman whose family owned lots of slaves. But he wasn't for slavery. That's his white family. But he was totally against slavery. So do we know that over in Europe, they still sing Swing Low Sweet Chariot before each rugby game?
Now,
I can only...
Now, you know the history of Swing Low. Wasn't that one of the slave songs that they sang?
Yes, it is. And like I premised, it supposedly the first time the chorus of it was heard was at the near drowning of Ella Shepard at the hands of her own mother, because she did not want her child to remain a slave. Do we know that? And then I wanted to mention some of the places I went and why. I went to the Hermitage because I wanted to see where Jenny Jackson was from. And I wanted to see if they mentioned anything about that connection, which they did not.
They did not. I want to acknowledge Fuchina. She says, we are responsible for our own story. Yes, absolutely.
And so why we are arguing and fighting and trying to force the white race to teach our history. No, we need to be teaching our own history. I graduated high school in the 70s, 73. And I remember the Army recruiters and the Navy and all those recruiters came to try to recruit us into the military. I don't remember anybody trying to come recruit me into a historical Black college, which is half of the reason that I'm just at 50, 60 years old realizing and finding out, oh, we have some historical Black colleges. That's not good.
No, and
That's not good.
there are
I
a
didn't have
lot
my
of
school counselor suggest to me, oh, well, maybe you want to go to a historical Black college. In the 70s, there was no internet. I'm
no,
assuming they knew, they were the adults, but no one mentioned that to me. And I
right.
really am ashamed to say, and I feel slighted and cheated, that no one told me that we had some historical Black colleges. So we need to make our children aware of this.
Absolutely.
I remember my
Absolutely.
first episode of racism. I was around 8 years old, and our parents took us to Texas. It was our first time in the South. You know, coming from California, we weren't used to anything dealing with racism. And a little log ride came by, and I think I was already a little girl was already in the ride, a little white girl, and I jumped in the ride, little excited little colored girl, and the little white girl's dad picked her up and took her out of the ride, and I said, "Oh, it's okay, sir. She can ride with me."
Oh my.
Do you know my parents never told me that that was racism? So to me, teaching our history, first of all, starts at home so that you can teach your child yourself your approach to what you want them to know about mistreatment and racism.
Absolutely. And you
Because
know, it is so prevalent now,
yeah,
and our
yeah,
kids, and the young kids, they don't understand, but I think parents are becoming more aware of the importance of making our children aware that there are people out here that don't like us and
yeah.
will try to hurt us. I
Now,
want to
I like the way
respond.
you said that, Vera. There are people, because it's so important to make the point that all white people are not
Right.
racist.
Absolutely. I want to
And I
respond
think
to,
that's the opinion some of our young people are getting.
right. And Fushina, she says I learned about my history when I attended an HBCU. And that is where our history is taught, in the HBCUs. It's a wealth of information. And it's unfortunate that there are not enough of us attending those schools, but there are a lot, and they come out doing things. And here in Atlanta, there are quite a few HBCUs. You've got
Exactly.
Spelman, Clark, Morehouse, and so
Yeah. Now we
that
know
is,
how the African American community is balling in Atlanta. I
yes,
mean,
they are.
yeah.
Yes, they are. I have to say that. Yes, they
So
are.
I feel cheated and slighted, and I'm hoping that school counselors and school teachers can hear my voice, and and let our students know there's some historical Black colleges out there that you need to look into, at least consider. But you know what? Anthony Anderson's Blackish, I love that he always figured a way to put something about African American history in every single
Yes,
episode.
yes,
Now he's from
yes,
Compton like I am, so some good
yes.
stuff came out of Compton too.
Yeah, awesome. Let's hear what Felicia is saying. She says, I totally agree with you, Jemima. There was so many that things we have contributed beyond slavery, all the inventions, successful towns, and thriving businesses. We need to tell our story, the good, the bad, and beyond. We can rebuild again and become a great nation. Yes, we can. And thank you for that, Felicia.
Yes,
Absolutely. Because what's happening right now in our country, the hate that is going on. And, our young people are suffering from PTSD and all these other things because of all this hatred that's out here now. And so it is incumbent upon our parents and adults to, first of all, instill that greatness in our kids so that once they are in the midst of any racism or whatever, they've got that inner strength within themselves to understand just because you may feel that way about me does not make it so. And
Exactly.
and oftentimes, I am convinced that those who show hatred, they are suffering from physical conditions as well as mental conditions, and hate is not good for for health.
And
It's
it's a taught behavior. I was at the Kentucky Castle the other week, and it was on my agenda of something I was going to do to celebrate after my last book signing. And I wore my tiara onto the property and kept it on the entire time. And I was walking out to go do an errand, and this family pulled up. This cute little white girl got out of the car, and she said, "Daddy, look, a real princess." And she and I ended up taking a picture together in the lobby. I got
um
over 100 likes on that picture because that sweet little baby was looking up at me as if in her heart, because I was wearing my tiara and I'm at a castle, I was a real princess. She didn't see me as a black woman.
she
She
saw
saw
you as
me
a
as a
princess.
princess.
That's awesome. Fuchina, she says the Black Wall Street is a classic example that we can have our own. There is power in unity. Well, yes, there were so many. The Black Wall Street was just one of many, many, many cities that were created by Black people that were destroyed, because of that hate. You
Isn't
know,
that
um,
terrible?
it's terrible. My brother
And
is,
my sister just hit me to that in the last 2 or 3 years.
oh, I mean, almost, there were so many Black cities. And Eatonville, Florida, my brother is the mayor there, and it is the oldest chartered Black city in the nation, but there were just a few that stood the test of time.
And
All
those are
others,
the
they
types
were
of
burnt
stories.
down.
Yes,
I mean, has been done to the African American community has been a travesty. And
it has been. It has been. Now,
like you,
uh
go
huh.
ahead. I'm sorry.
You know what? I support my president wholeheartedly. But when it came down to him saying there will be no reparations for the people who lost their property in Tulsa on Black Wall Street, I was not for that. There's going to be funding and money pumped into the community. Really? Those people have built, you know, I'm of the kind of person, if I come into your establishment and you don't serve blacks for whatever reason, you have that right. This is your establishment. Just let me know what's going on so I can beat it. Okay? and so I'm not trying to encroach on what you have. And so that's what those people did. They said, fine, you don't want us in your community. We're going to pool our money and start our own. And
Exactly.
you're
And
going to
then
come
they
burn them out?
destroyed it. And then
Yes.
they destroyed it.
And there's no
Exactly.
reparation? Come on.
Exactly. Felicia says, my oldest daughter went to an HBCU, Albany State University in Albany, Georgia. I believe there are 10 HBCUs in Georgia. Oh, wow.
Wow.
I didn't know that. I'm new to Georgia, so I did not know that. That is awesome.
Yeah. And you know, some of our HBCUs have shut down. They have gone broke. And you
Yeah,
know,
they
that's what these
have.
children did. Now, see, that's where their story is so empowering. They were the first generation of free slaves to go to school. And Fisk was going bankrupt a year or two after they opened. If Fisk had failed, they might have shut all of the black schools down. And none of us would have gotten education. And that's why they went on their tour, to save their school from bankruptcy. Now, the school was not supportive of the idea. They felt like the professor was going to try to get them out there and exploit them. So the school only donated $1. But the school had asked the professor to be the treasurer by then, and he took the money out of the little $30 they had in the treasury and that dollar and borrowed some money from his friends and took the kids on tour. They got out there and started making so much money, then the school wouldn't let them come home.
Is
So a
that
lot of them,
right?
yes, they were exploited to no end. They became ill. Thomas Rutling kept having fainting spells. They came finally. They were out there 18 months on their first tour
Oh
without
my.
coming home.
Oh my.
And I had earmarked this one passage that I wanted to read, and it's just a small, short paragraph.
Okay, let me well, before Pachina, she says Georgia has the most HBCUs in the nation. Oh my goodness. That's good to
Wow.
know. Now
Yes, it is.
I'm gonna put you up front so that you can share your passage.
Okay. Now, this is when they were just ending their first tour, which started out along the route of the Underground Railroad. This leg of the tour proved to be one of the most grueling of their trips, as it encompassed 98 days, 41 towns, and 68 concerts. I mean, that's
Oh
a
my
lot of
goodness.
touring. They came home with not strep, tuberculosis was big then, and a lot of them lost their vocal cords. Their clothes had torn to shreds because remember, they're not on a Beyonce tour.
Right.
They were being clandestinely taken into basements, damp and rat-infested basements for lodging. The abolitionists did the best they could to provide housing. But once some of the town folk found out that they were harboring these black children when they came, then they started to threaten the white abolitionists. So a lot of times they just stayed at the train station.
Wow.
And now the Admiral fell in one of the other spots that I visited in Baltimore. That was one of their stops. You can still see where the train tracks were that came right up to the hotel. The Admiral Fell Inn still exists, and it's still called the Admiral Fell Inn. They lodged there. They lodged at Captain Simeon's Potter House out on Rhode Island, and it's still there. It's a bed and breakfast. So there's places that we can go and still feel their spirit.
Oh
How many of
my.
us have walked across the Jubilee Bridge?
Now,
Okay,
where is the Jubilee Bridge? It's in
it leads.
Tennessee?
It's in Tennessee, and it leads from the downtown area. You walk over the bridge, and you're on Fisk campus.
Okay.
I was researching because I had a no to low budget production back in California. I mean, it was just myself and my husband financing it. So we did a lot of things with backdrop and the film projector. And so I needed a backdrop for a river to depict the scene where Ella Shepard was being drowned in the river. And I went on the internet and swiped through a few pictures, and I came across one, and something in my heart said, this is what the river looked like. So that's the picture I chose. So I started to read further, and as I read, I realized it was a river outside of Queen Victoria's castle.
Oh
And they
my.
just named it that year to the Jubilee River. And
Wow.
those are the types of things that happen that let me know that I am walking in the realm of my destiny.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That
It
is
was
just
the
amazing. And the way
really
you
was.
tell the story is so beautiful. It is so beautiful
It
the
is
way
a
you
beautiful story.
articulate what your passion is. You can feel it. You can feel it.
I really do. And I can't wait for you all to meet Maggie Porter. Maggie Porter sang Handel's Cantata of Esther, the lead role. And when you sing the lead role in an opera, you are a diva. That is where the term diva comes from. So in the 1800s, Maggie Porter was already a diva, and Maggie was not for riding segregated buses and trains. And, once they threw the Jubilee Singers, the women, off of the train. That
What?
historically happened. And fictionally, it was because Maggie Porter, fictionally, Maggie Porter was involved in that. Maggie Porter was so avid on being treated properly. She was the last surviving Jubilee singer. She was living in Detroit. And Fisk asked her to come lend her hand because from what I hear, Fisk is always having financial issues, to come lend her voice and her pen to the university. Maggie insisted and wrote into whatever contract she had that they sent a car for her to Detroit to pick her up to bring her to Nashville whenever she came. And that's some 500 miles. I said, you go, Maggie.
Wow.
So these children's backstory, the way I wrote the story, it's educational, it's entertaining, and it's empowering.
So where can people get your book?
I am on Amazon.com.
Okay.
If you search The Story of Jubilee, you have to add the tag and epic tale because there are a lot of versions of people who've written things about Jubilee, even though the context may be different. Or you can email me at thestoryofjubilee@gmail.com and I can send one directly to you, which will save you some money.
Okay, you hear that, listening audience? You can get her book on Amazon, or you can email her and she will send it to you. And the email is thestoryofjubilee@gmail.com. It's scrolling here, so contact her. Fuchina, she said, I didn't realize how ignorant I was to my history until I got to St. Augustine College in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is another historical Black college. And you talked about how Fisk was suffering financially. Every Black college has suffered financially.
And we don't have to. We don't have to. A production like this can bring them all up. This can be ours. This can be ours.
You hear that?
You know, and what I like is that when the children, they made $172 in 7 years out there on that road. Sent every penny back to Fisk. And Jubilee Hall on that campus is the first brick and mortar building built for our education in the South, because they were just having school in the old Army, abandoned Union Army forts and things like that, and tents. So that you know what, you go downtown Nashville, and any day, any time of day, droves and droves of people. Mostly, I'm sure they're 98% tourists, because locals don't usually enjoy their own cities. Millions of dollars just passing by all day long, going to the honky-tonk, up on the rooftops, honky-tonk music coming out of every building. And then there's the beautiful brand new African-American museum. I don't even think they notice it's there. They stop in front of the museum to take a picture of the mural across the street of all of the country western A-listers. Someone painted a beautiful mural, or they go across the street and they can see the museum, but they're over there to take a selfie with these country western. We need this at that museum. Make it where that's the only place you can come see it.
Well, I have some thoughts in my head regarding some things that might be of very much benefit to you, especially with the emphasis on historic Black colleges and universities. This is going to happen, and while you see, the focus being in Tennessee, I see the focus being in every location of the HBCUs. First of all, it can be a fundraiser for every HBCU in the country.
Help me put it out there, Vera. Yes, that's my vision. That's what I think.
A traveling tour across the country supporting HBCUs. I guarantee you that door is going to open.
To the universe. The Jubilee Singers gift to me, and my gift to the universe.
It's going to happen.
And then the legacy will forever be preserved. Because you know what? If we don't watch it, they're going to wipe our legacy all in. You'll never know we even existed.
Well,
except as slaves.
They're trying to do that with the voting. They're trying to keep people of color from voting. I'm telling you, we're in a very dire situation right now. And wake up,
Nothing we've
wake
ever
up,
seen.
wake up. We cannot
Yes.
allow what's happening to happen. We can't.
Okay. And look, we're not even allowed to go into church and worship together anymore. This is a very scary time, but
It
we
is.
can overcome it and we can
Yes,
persevere.
we can.
Broadway is open.
We've overcome everything else. We can
Yes.
overcome this as
Yes.
well. You know, but
And we keep crying about
we gotta
COVID, but
stand
Broadway is
together.
open and doing business. So if Broadway can be open, we can follow the same rules and precautions. I had a friend who had an affirmation. I have everything I need to get the things I want, and I have everything I want to get the things I need. All I need is my
love
people to
it.
get behind me. That's what I need.
Well, it's gonna happen. I know
believe it.
it's gonna happen. And
As a matter of fact, go ahead.
I was gonna run your video again before we end. But what were you getting ready to say?
I lost my thought. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. Felicia says there is about 100 Black towns that were taken or destroyed. Most are under lakes, some parks throughout America. The story behind Lake Lanier was once Osborneville, Georgia, is actually pretty eerie. Lake Lanier was created in 1957 in order to flood the area to make the lake. The U.S. government displaced over 700 Black families and had to relocate 20 cemeteries, including the bodies, but they didn't manage to move all of the grave sites. Shaking my head. And the thing is, there's been a lot of things that have happened at Lake Lanier, drownings and things of that nature, but that was a Black city. It breaks my heart.
That young lady sounds very in tune with
she's awesome.
Some very interesting history.
Yes, and she's also a personality on the same platform that I'm on. So I really appreciate her coming on. I appreciate her giving this wealth of knowledge because it ties in with what we're talking about. It's just so critical. But before we end, I want to do this. I want to do your video one more time, and then we're going to come back and talk some more because I put it on at the top. So I want others to see this.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I figured that out and did it myself.
You did that yourself? Oh my God, it's awesome.
So I'm real proud to see that, and I love your platform and your format. I'm just so happy to see that we're not getting left behind with this technology. And
we're not.
All the success.
Well, I want to see this all over the country. I really, really do.
I am with you on that. That's how I see it.
And I mean, this is some powerful stuff. And I know someone right now that's doing some major things with HBCUs, and I want to connect the two of you. Let's see.
That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful because they have all the assets right there on campus. You have actors and singers and people to build
Oh, that
sets.
would even be awesome. Oh my God.
Yes, all
And
you need is
Felicia,
some
she
tips.
says, I can't wait to see it.
Yes.
Felicia, let's try to get it here in Atlanta. Yes.
You know what? The first ones are gonna be the ones to set the pace.
But
And I'm
we got
ready. You
10.
know what? My
She's
husband and I invested in an RV so that we can be wherever we need to be, whenever we need to be there.
That is
And
so
so
awesome. And
so
see,
just
there
tell
are
me when and
10.
where.
And why not start here in Georgia? Because there are more HBCUs in Georgia than anywhere else in the nation. You
Well,
could
you
be
know what
here.
I'm going to do, Vera? I'm going to come up with a promotional package, and I'm going to refer them to this podcast. And that's right. If you want us to see who we are, and then get myself a meet and greet, and
Yes,
let's get it going.
absolutely.
Oh my
Absolutely.
God.
And Felicia says, yes, Atlanta. I'm so
Okay.
excited.
Well, tell
I'm
Felicia
excited.
I'm gonna need her help to show me around, because you
Yes.
said she is in Atlanta, huh?
Oh yeah, she's here. She's a personality on this platform as well.
I see. Okay.
And so awesome.
Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reach out to all of my HBCUs and try to pick some interest. And first come, first serve.
I'm telling you, oh my goodness. I'll tell you after this show is over. But I am so excited because what you are doing is every child, every African American family needs to see this story. And HBCUs, what better place than to do it through HBCUs? Oh my God, I am excited about this.
Good. You just gave me a whole new perspective, because I had reached out to them before. Sometimes you reach out and you're not ready. And that's why, things don't work out, because the universe knows you're not even ready. You reaching out, somebody may say yes, and then you'll find out you're not ready. But I am so ready now. You see how when you ask me, do you have a video? Yes, I have a video.
Yes.
Do you have a CD? Yes, I have a CD.
And the beauty of it, when you said that each each college or university could develop their own cast for it, or
they have
Atlanta. How many cast members are in this play?
It's 18 total, because 9 of them are singers/actors. The singers are the actors, and then the other 9 are peripheral. And then some parts double up, like Eden played 2 parts, and some of the other cast members, the supporting cast plays several parts, because you just need them in one scene here, one scene there, or they're passer or spy. I even involved the community for the scene where the young man's family was there were 9. That woman had 9 children. He just was the youngest. So I like to involve the community, because you bring in a child, now you got grandmama, granddaddy, aunts, uncles.
Wow.
And you bring the community in. You get your pastors to play a part. You can bring everybody in, and everybody's contributing to making it happen.
Oh man,
Everybody can celebrate the success together.
This is so awesome. This is so awesome. We've got 30 seconds.
I have a business plan, and I just need to get the opportunity.
Yes. And Diane, she says, hi there. Sorry I'm late. Well, you can catch the replay. This was a powerful show.
Thank you.
Talking about our history and talking about, the things that we have to take responsibility for and do for ourselves. No one is going to do for us what we are not willing to do for ourselves. Exactly. And so that's something that I want us to really consider and take into consideration.
Oh, now I remember what I was going to tell you. It was so powerful. I was feeling a little discouraged and at that fork in the road. Should I turn back the other day? And I went outside and I prayed. And I came back inside and I had a text message. And it said that somebody from Walmart was texting me, and I knew I didn't have any business with Walmart for them to be texting me. But so you know how the auto spell will mess you up. So I wouldn't listen to the voicemail. And it was the young lady who had signed on, Barbara Hall. That instead of Walmart, it was Barbara Hall had called me and said, "I'm sorry, I met you back in July," she said, "on the Fisk campus, and I just realized I hadn't returned your call." Because when I went out and prayed, I said, "Lord, I need some publicity." She said, "I don't know if I can help you, but I have a friend with a radio station, and maybe I can get her to interview you." So I did that interview yesterday. And then Saturday, one of my son's play sons, called me up, and he wanted me to meet a young lady named Vera Thomas. Remember, I just prayed that I needed some publicity.
Wow. Well, you know what?
He hooked me up with a young lady named Vera Thomas, and when I got finished with the radio interview, Vera Thomas said, "JB, I need somebody to fill in for a podcast tomorrow." I prayed for some publicity.
See, that's a God thing.
Yes, and I got back to my RV, and a young lady from the Tennessee Tribune said, "Avita Finley told me about you, and I was wondering if I could interview you for a newspaper story."
It's gonna, I'm telling you, the doors are going to open. And you know what? We ran out of time. But Felicia says, "Awesome show. Thanks, Jemima, for all that you do and will continue to do. You inspire me." Oh, how awesome. You know what? I know it's time for us to go. But this was so awesome. And I just know that the doors are going to continue to open and a way is going to be made. Right. And you're going to be here in Atlanta doing this show. I know it. I already know it.
And we're going to be on the road of podcasting backstage while the show is going on.
That would be awesome too. And I can do a little acting there too.
That's okay now.
That's awesome.
I have a wonderful scene. You'd be perfect there.
Really?
So yes, and you're gonna have to tell me how I can get one of my books to you that I can sign to you. So when we get off the air, maybe you can email me an address to send it to.
Well, you know, I'm getting ready to shut this down, but don't go anywhere, okay? Don't leave.
Okay.
Listen, audience, thank you so much for being here. And I am just elated to have had Jamima Jones, JB, here with us. I am just so elated. And I just want to say you guys have an awesome, awesome week. And God bless you. And we will see you next time.
The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the field.
Bye-bye.